Okay, welcome everybody, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited to have so many of you with us here today. I know that this is a really hot topic, and for anyone who's working in a Montessori classroom, whether you're fully trained or just starting your journey, I'm sure you've noticed that, there's so much more that we want to be doing for the children, for their writing skills and for their language development. And I'm really, really excited and happy that we have Salma with us today to help share with us some of the amazing work she's been doing in her elementary classroom, and also to share with us the depth of knowledge she has as not only being a Montessori teacher, but also somebody who works with ESL children, children who English is not their first language. So what Salma will share with us today is applicable whether you're teaching in English or you're teaching in Bahasa Malay or in French or any other language. It's applicable. And I think that, you're going to really be inspired and enjoy what she shares with us today. So I'll start by introducing Salma. So Salma is joining us from Switzerland. Salma is, she has a master's degree in English for communication, and also an AMI Montessori diploma that she did under Greg McDonald's. She's worked as a Montessori elementary guide in Morocco and in France, and has years of experience behind her working with lower elementary children, upper elementary children. And that's why, I was just so excited to be able to connect with her and organize this training session. So I'm going to hand over. Without saying much more, I'm going to hand over to Salma and invite Salma to start.
Thank you, Nusayba, so much. It's a great pleasure, really, to be with you here and to share my humble experience, as Nusayba said, as an IMI 6 to 12 guide, but also as an English teacher of master degree, English for communication. This presentation is divided, as you could see here. It's based on writing skills for lower elementary children. We will be programming other presentations for upper elementary. However, this one is divided basically into three main sections. We will have, first of all, an overview about the language acquisition for early childhood, then elementary. Then we will be going on how to introduce writing for elementary children, which is the core element of our presentation here. And I'm going to share with you three key factors to sparkle their interest into writing and to boost their writing skills. The last part, which is the practical part, will be about basic tools and techniques. And I'm going to share with you some materials that I created, or I found out, or I experienced it throughout my years of working, to be presented and to reinforce lower elementary children basic writing. So to get to build an elementary writing program for elementary, we need, first of all, to remind ourselves about the child's self-constructive process that Maria Montessori focused on in her work with children. How children self-construct themselves linguistically speaking, and what should I put into practice to boost this inner creative potential they have toward writing? This is the main core of the first question we have. Now, if we look here, we have a quote about Maria Montessori, and it is announced by Maria Montessori from The Absorbent Mind. In this quote, Maria Montessori came to believe that human beings held with them a power to acquire language. It's a constructive possibility. It's a constructive power. They are born with a huge potential to acquire language. And she said, as we could quote here, we found it reasonable to suppose that human beings, or to suppose that child at birth bears with him constructive possibility, which must unfold by activity in his environment. Every baby has the same appearance. He is motionless, empty, insignificant. Yet there exists in this inert being a global power, a human creative essence which drives them to form a man of his time, a man of his civilization. The capacity then to create is within every human. We are born with this creative capacity, and language was created out of the human tendency of communication. Now, children create the language since the day they were born. I didn't tell and share with you, but I'm a newly born mom. I have a newly born baby. He is now 3 months, and I can also manifest that. So the children are born with this capacity. They absorb everything from their environment. So from the environment they are born into, they absorb and they register in their mind. They are born with the mechanism of writing as well. And I could see that even with my baby right now, when I just put my finger, he tries unconsciously holding my finger this way. It's a mechanism of handwriting, which he is preparing himself for. Cooing or babbling, when I just try to introduce some sounds with him, like I'm trying to mime the sound m, because I would love that he says mama first before dada. Or I would love just to play with him different sounds. We call it the sound game. And he really tries to imitate me and he tries to follow. It's a sign that he is also preparing for this speaking process, cooing or babbling. So early childhood children learn through these senses they have, and they are born then and introduced to the language in a very sensorial way. And that's why for early childhood children, or we can say also the first plane of development, as Maria Montessori said, here I'm talking about first plane, 0 to 6. Okay, I'm not going to divide because Maria Montessori was dividing them, but we will be focusing much more on elementary. That's why I grouped the 0 to 6, because we are talking about the absorbent mind. So they are introduced, therefore, through their absorbent mind to the language, and they are learning effortlessly this language. So the focus here on sensorial exploration is the main point, and they work on developing their fine motor skills through the use of materials that would facilitate their writing skills as well. So the development of their mechanism of writing is through different materials. Now, if we have a look at the language topics in early childhood children, or children age 3 to 6, basically, so they work on developing the language, acquiring more words, phrases, and simple sentences. They are absorbing consciously all words and language patterns that are introduced into. Therefore, it's important that we reinforce on repetition and sensorial exploration. These are the key main points that would help them to really flesh out after everything that they have been absorbing. So repetition and sensorial exploration are the main techniques used for them. The focus is on enlarging their linguistic path and preparing them to reproduce in a written form basic letters and words. To do so, in each phase of development, Maria Montessori talked about special material, a beautiful material that if you enter any environment, you would be fascinated by. Personally, I was so. So here we will be talking about the written language material introduced for the 3 to 6 children, as is our topic about the written language. So they need a special material to develop their written language and develop their creative writing. This includes the use of sandpaper letter, as you could see in the picture. The letters where they are traced and the children are going to trace on. This is to have a memorial recognition of the letter, to have also the image of the letter, and then to trace it after. This helps them to incarnate the letter and to have this graphism about the letter already registered in their mind. They also use movable alphabet. It's a material which we use for the 3 to 6, but also keep that in mind, you could use it also as a transitional material for the 6 to 9. And it's very important when we work on the word studies for 6 to 9. I'll be explaining on later about it. The movable alphabet material is this in this picture where you have the different letters. As you can see, it's in red and blue. You can find in different colors, but preferably to have 2 sets with 2 different colors. This would help them for the word study. And this material is designed in a way that the child can remove letters easily to correct his spelling if needed. That's writing without spotting mistakes. And in this case, they would gain confidence about writing. Now, how many of us were really a bit frustrated when we give a paper as a child aged 6 years old? We give a paper to a teacher and the teacher starts taking her red pen and she starts circling this way. This is a mistake, go on and correct it. This is not good. This really hampers the child's self-confidence about writing. And it would really be a point where the child would say, every time I write, I make mistakes. So I would stop writing after all. So this is really the main point of having this material, which I personally recommend to have it as a transitional also material for the 6 to 9, because it boosts their confidence and it boosts their, they gain confidence working on removing and correcting. The picture word cards, as you could see here, it's another also material that is moving now from the sensorial use of material to a passage toward abstraction. This material, we call it in the 6 to 12, a passage to abstraction material, because they are still having the material, movable alphabet to correct, but now they are writing on paper. And try to have a look at the picture, the paper and the lines that we have on the paper. It's very important to consider the interlines that we have on the paper. How many of us, when we were really kids, we were in the 1st grade, and the first thing the teacher would order as a furniture, a copybook, 69 pages. How could I write on a copybook? I mean, 69 pages. And then she would ask, you should write on the line. And then we will start writing big letters and going under the line. Sometimes you go up into the line and we feel frustrated because we are not really writing beautifully the way she expects us to do. So this material, as you could see with a special paper here, it's designed for that. It helps them to progress smoothly, softly into the use later on of the copybook. So bear also in mind when a 6 to 9 enter the class, please don't give him a copybook at the spot. Make him, first of all, practice, reinforce his mechanism, his graphism, before that we get to have a copybook. Getting a copybook for them is a sign of maturity, so that we will be talking about it later on. So this material, the picture word card, also is designed for them, as we said, is an abstract material, a passage to abstraction, to help them look at the picture and write down what do they see in the picture. This is a creative writing that children of the 3 to 6 are initially working on. Now, when we talk about the early childhood children, we cannot forget talking about the different phases of development. These early childhood children will be moving on later on to the elementary. So the passage to the elementary level would also acquire a passage to another stage of writing. That is, as we said, from the sensorial exploration, the creative writing children in elementary, then they refine their mechanism of writing acquired in 3 to 6 and acquire new skills of writing. That includes techniques of creative writing, various styles of writing, and the process of writing. These are the 3 main points that we will be going in depth into for this session. So they are introduced also to the cosmic education. And cosmic education is basically designed for the second plane children. This is because they have the certain characteristics that allows them to go on to that. So they are now in the age of reasoning. So they are moving from the absorbing mind of the early childhood to a reasoning mind. So the stories, for example, of the cosmic education are meant to empower the language skills. When we talk about the cosmic education, we cannot forget to talk about the 5 great stories. And if you have noticed, when we deal with the 5 great stories and when we tell the stories, we are telling them in a very descriptive way. So we can give them tools and we can give them techniques to empower their also writing later on. When we tell the story, we give as many adjectives, as many descriptive passages as we can, so that they can have in their mind this image and they can visualize it in their mind, because they are now having this capacity to do so through their reasoning mind. So their language pattern is built on reinforcing basic language pattern. And here is the main, let's say, topic for language elementary. If we look at the language topics in elementary, we also have parts that are already introduced in the 3 to 6, including the word study, parts of speech. But now in the elementary, they are going to go in depth with that. Let's say if the 3 to 6 is the initial introduction, the elementary is like going in depth with this introduction and building more on it. So the focus on word study, parts of speech, spelling, punctuation, sentence analysis is essential to build on the writing process later on. The elementary child works on developing his written language by examining the function of the words, sentences types, getting also to a critical analysis of the language. To move to have this critical analysis of the language, I need first of all to understand the basic tools that are already here illustrated through the word study, parts of speech, logical analysis, and sentence analysis. Now, this is not enough, because what I'm doing here is I'm reinforcing what the children acquired in the 3 to 6. But I still need, as throughout my experience, some other materials to boost their energy into writing, to move from this creative writing that was introduced in 3 to 6 to a critical analysis writing, to a critical writing, where the children are going to write persuasive essays. The children are going to write detailed descriptive passages. And therefore, if we look here and we try to criticize the topics for elementary children when it gets to language, we can see that the writing process is not that much reinforced. So once the child gets the mechanism of the written language in the 6 to 9, we move to work on the process for the 9 to 12. So working in depth their writing skills. Now, the main question here is, when I started my work as a 6 to 12, after being graduated, I was really enthusiastic to work on with all these materials and to introduce the word study, the sentence analysis, parts of speech with the grammar boxes. But I find it's not enough. The children are just working on the grammar box. They are just taking it out, writing it down, putting it back, and there was not this inner capacity, as we said before, to create, to write. So I needed to find a way to boost their energy toward writing and to make it from a creative writing to a critical analytical one. So there are, in this case, to answer this question, how can we elaborate on the written language program, giving emphasis to the writing skills process? What can we add to enrich the writing skill for elementary children? How can we develop the creative writing in lower elementary to critical analytical writing? The answer to all these 3 questions is grouped throughout this presentation in 3 possible opportunities given, 3 possible solutions we could work on. So here we go. Improving their written language by involving their human tendency. When we are a 6 to 12 guide and we go on the training, we have a big theory album. that we are focusing on. And it's important as a guide to link the theory to the practice. So I was trying to find my way. How can I boost these children writing skills based on the theory part that we studied in the 6 to 12? After all, we did not study the theory to just implement it this way. We studied it also to implement it with subject studies and learning. So I find out, okay, here we go. How about human tendencies? It's necessary. Human tendency is one of the main points Maria Montessori talked about it, or we can call it a human inclination, human necessities. So here, based on the human tendencies, I try to find different activities, different writing activities that could boost the elementary children toward writing. Now, I would love to get some interaction from you, if possible. And I would love to see, when I say human tendency, what comes to your mind? Can you list some with me? You can unmute and speak. It's okay. Yeah. For example,
Does anyone want to share some human tendencies that we've covered for those of you who've covered that? And we have some trained Montessori teachers here, so I'm sure you're all very well versed with human tendencies.
Well, I can try to give an example.
Communication, we have actually in the chat box, communication.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Order.
Yes.
Perfection.
Mm-hmm.
Work.
Yes.
Making friends with others to socialize.
Yeah.
Lovely. Absorbing from the environment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, lovely. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Well, if I give you the floor, it would be endless. I know that you know all the human tendencies, as I know some of you are guides, but for those who are not familiar with the human tendencies, as we said, they are human necessities, and we can talk basically here. I'm trying to focus on some human tendencies, not all of them, okay? I cannot cover all of them, but I try to pick some human tendencies that we could focus on to build writing skills. Here we have different human tendencies. They are endless. So this is a restricted list of the human tendency. I put on abstractions, order, communication, observation, exploration, imagination, and so on, But I'm trying to focus on these ones. Now, my next question would be, for the main human tendencies we listed, think of one written activity that could be the written activity we could present to the elementary child. I give an example. For example, for the human tendency of, let's say, imagination, the written activity I would give is imagine story card. I would give a child a picture and I would ask him, imagine a story out of this picture. I'm tickling here the human tendency, imagination. I'm going to give another example. Orientation is a human tendency. In this human tendency, I'm going, for example, to guide the child and to think about early human beings. How about writing an informative essay about how early human beings used to live? I can give another example, orientation. Lately, we have a new child who comes to our class. He still doesn't know our rules, our routines in the class. How about writing a short passage, trying to guide our new friends about how to go to the toilet, how to use our materials, how to follow our rules in the class? I'm trying also to boost their writing skills through tickling their human tendencies. There are endless activities I could share with you. Here, I picked up some of them that I really incorporated into my class, and I tried to build them with my children throughout the years I've been working on. So they are coming from the will of the child, and throughout the discussion, we built up this kind of curriculum together. So there are some activity I used, and I hope they could inspire and sparkle their interest toward writing. For example, as I said before the orientation, I could go on orienting a new friend, human beings in prehistory up to now, exploration you have, project work. And we organize for the project work 1 week United Nations. And United as Nations, we call it United as Nation. And this week, it's every child or in a group of children, they will be working together to represent a country that they choose based on the fundamental need chart that they were introduced into for the 6 to 12. So they would work on the project work, and each group will be working on a nation or on a country. And by the end, when it's the week for the United Nations, we are going to have our exhibition and we present our project, inviting our parents, sharing also food from different countries. Order. And as we work on orderly society, we cannot forget to work on orderly class. And instead of writing my own rules, the children are part of the community. And it's important to make them feel that they are part of this community. So what do we do here? We try to work on writing about our class rules. And in this case, the children are writing themselves. Every time we encounter any problem, we are trying to solve the problem and we write down what did we find. So we made our writing class rules code book. Observation. Some children are interested into observing others sometimes. Have you ever seen this child who is always observing around and looking around it? He would hesitate to take the material and work on, but he would just enjoy observing. So in this case, I found a key for some children like that. So I said, class observation notes. I could see that you are observing and it interests you. How about taking our class observation notes and write down, what do you see? This helps them also to have this interest to write, but also it helps me to guide them into their language patterns and to guide them into improving their writing. Going out also. When we go out, we necessarily need to take our observation notes. And we try to alternate. If we go out, we will have, for example, a leader of the going out. And for this leader, he will be writing down our going out report. And this is a way also to write. Abstraction. It's necessary too. It's a human tendency, but I use it also when we work on maths or when we work on geometry or any other fields. Especially when we get to work on maths, the children can work on writing mathematical rules. When we work on the constructive triangles or when we work on the equivalence, the children are going to write their mathematical rule. What does an equivalent triangle mean? How do we get to have equivalence? And they could verbalize a mathematical rule. Imagination, as I shared before, imagine a story card or writing prompt. They could write their own story. And we cannot also forget that these 6 to 12 children, they don't only have this stamina, cultural stamina, but they have also this physical stamina. They like moving a lot. So we try to find together a way, how do we get them to write while moving as well? And we find out the running dictation. I will be explaining in depth for those who would love to go further into these activities at that time, but I'm trying to inspire you for now. For the running dictation, we go all outside at the park. We will be divided into 2 different groups. I'll have a short text with me. The children will be spelling the words word by word. There will be a writer at the end who will be trying to write down every time the child is going to whisper the word to him. And it's a way to involve the children into writing, but also to involve them into moving. So this is one key that I found out to sparkle their interest. But as we said, these are activities that I could share with you. I hope that could inspire you. But I was not based only on that. I also tried to connect to the cosmic education for the 6 to 12, improving their written language by this building the interconnection between the different fields of studies. And this is important to highlight because when we talk about the cosmic education, we talk about the interconnection between the subjects. So I'm not going to teach writing separate from the other fields of studies, or I'm not going to focus just on writing. And the child would feel a bit bored every time we would just go on writing, and I'm just taking the editing and I'm just correcting his mistakes, and I'm making it very academic. I try to link the academic learning with the theory in itself. And therefore, writing to connect between the different fields of studies is very important. Sorry for that. So it's very important to work on, and the children are going to work on this case on connecting between the different fields of study. Human tendencies, then, is one of the key factors to develop their writing skills and written language. However, building the interconnection between the different fields of studies is also another key factor. And elementary children are introduced to the cosmic education. The writing skill here is not only a sub-branch of a field that should be studied separate from other subjects. Then, when they write their project, for example, they also develop their writing skills. When they verbalize a mathematical concept, they also develop their writing. So finding the interconnection between the fields is necessary for them. And therefore, we try to involve writing out of the academic concept, but also link it to other fields of study. Geometry and writing are highly connected. I give a geometry lesson. How about verbalizing what we have working on? How about making a nomenclature? How about taking the geometry nomenclature, using your own words instead of copying from the nomenclature as I have seen in some classes? Right, paraphrasing. They are working on the technique of paraphrasing in this case. How about going on and trying to explore the biology field? So we went outside, we take our observation notes. We are going to collect different types of leaves. How about writing down? What did you find out? Writing down your reflection about the lesson of biology and trying to express what you really learned is also another key that would boost their inner energy to write. And so the children in this case are working not only on writing as interconnection, but they also work on the cosmic education too. And I find out that it was also necessary that in my environment, I would reinforce the writing in another way too. So not only through human tendencies and building the interconnection, but my environment in itself has to be appealing for writing. I have to feel like when I enter the environment or when I see this material, for me, it implies that I'm going to write down on. And so now that we build some activities based on human tendencies and connected to the cosmic education, there should be a third factor to develop more their written language. That is the environment. Here we have, so as a guide, you act as a server by reacting upon the environment that would boost the child's potential toward writing and developing more his creativity. Maria Montessori said, "Is there any volunteer who helps me read the quote?" Wow. I would love to hear your voices. Yeah.
Can I read?
Yes, for sure, with a great pleasure.
Oh, okay. Education is a natural process spontaneously carried out by the human individual and is acquired not by listening to words but by experiences upon the environment. Human teachers can only help the great work being done as servants help the master.
Exactly. Thank you so much. So here we are talking about the environment and the preparation of the environment that would boost our elementary children toward writing. And here we are going to be based on different pillars. We can work on our library. We can work on project studies. We can work on creative daily activities. We can work on letterbox, post, and creative writing folder. Hold on, Salma, what are you saying here? Okay, let's go hand in hand with each one of these different rubrics. Now for the library here, the first time I entered my class after being graduated, I entered and I found out a big, huge library. It was amazing. The children are picking up the books and they are reading just for 2 minutes and then putting the book back. Some children, they are going just to take 3, 4 books at the same time. They sit, they just turn on the pages and they're not really reading it, and they just put the books back. And the library by the end of the day is a big, huge mess. Okay, dear friends, we have some work to do here. I think I would love to share with you about a possible way to organize our library. Every time we have our jobs, we spend like 15 minutes working on tidying up the library. How can we make it efficient in a way that each one of you would enjoy the library time and each one of you would enjoy tidying up without feeling that it's messy by the end of the day? This is what I tried to say during our council. And I tried to wait for some solutions guided by my children. I just follow them. They have the key. They have the solutions for everything. You just need to trust them. And I was amazed of the different solutions they have come up with. By the end of the day, after discussion, we find out one great solution, which is to go on color-coded. So what do we do in the library? For the library, we are going to divide it into different sections. Each section is going to have a color. Each color will be pointed on the section and on the book as well. So when I look at the book, I look at the color and I can put the book up to the section because I could see the color of the section matched with the spot on the book. In this way, it's organized. Okay, this is number one. But how can we organize the sections? That's the big question. And to organize the sections, I needed to give a presentation about the different types of writing, the different style of writing, the genre of literature. This is a fiction book. This is a non-fiction book. This is a documentary one. This is a descriptive one. This is a book for studies and for cultural studies. This is for social studies. These are for project work. Let's group them together. These are non-fiction books. Let's put them together. These are for early children reading. Let's put them together with another color. These ones are for magazines learning. Oh, great. Let's put magazines on. Why not? Okay, let's have a reference and a section for magazines. So the library is a key factor. Dividing into sections that are color-coded according to the different types of writing and book genre, book reference. So this would help them also to tidy up, but it also initiates your work to later on go in depth about the genre of writing, to go in depth into literature later on. More than that, we also thought about having a book report on the back. That means we have all circle times and we think about having a book that we could read for the circle time. And this book is going to be always on the shelf. So it's our book reference. Whenever we have the circle time, the children know that I'm going to take this book for the circle time. And we take this book reference to study also the different style of writing, to study the genre of writing. And this book reference is from a specific writer, a writer that we are going to study all along the year. And I'm going to give you more ideas about that. We also work on letterbox or letterpost. And this includes postcards, and two children can work on writing letters to their parents, relatives, cousins. Going out, we go out to the post office to send it as well. So what do we have in our class? We also have a box with envelopes, letters, postcards. I experienced that with some of my children when we had a child whom we were very attached to. She was very adorable, but they needed to leave and they needed to move to another country. So we missed her a lot during our year of study and during this year. And one of her friends was very close to her, and she came and she told me, like, I could not really finish my project. My friend left and she moved to another country. And they said, okay, we can try to find a way about that. What do you think we can do? I mean, did you lose the contact with your friend? You are not contacting her anymore? She said, no, we are still communicating thanks to technology. Oh, right. Great. Okay, here I understand that the parents are exposing the child to the screen. Okay, that's fine. It's okay if it's for constructive reason and if it's not for a long time. But however, I would love also to tickle her writing. So I was thinking like, oh, a part of just communicating online and just chatting online, do you think of writing letters to her? Oh, I don't know her address. Here is it. Why don't you ask and get her address? And it would be lovely to send her a postcard about every time you move to a visit or to explore a new country, you send her a postcard from that and you keep it this way. And here goes, we started with this idea. The children liked it so much and she enjoyed it so much. And then I got some children who are interested and they were like, oh, I would love to write to my grandparents. I would love to write to my grandpa. And we started organizing this activity. Project studies also is another key point that we work on. And for project studies, we have a big project that the children work on all along the year. It's themed, it's according to a theme, but the children can also work on their own project. And we have a project folder to guide the child making his own project, plus a large rolled paper. It's a long rolled paper that the children, every time they finalize, they get their text, they put their text back into this long, large rolled paper to form and to finalize their project. And we started having some children who are really challenging themselves. And they would say like, oh, now they started saying, I wrote on my project 15 texts. I wrote 16 last time. Oh, next time my project will be bigger because I'm going to write more texts in it. See? So this way, the children get much more involved into writing just with a long rolled paper. And of course, at the end, they would be very proud to see their project already on our wall and already illustrated for also parents to see it and for their friends to look at it every time they would love to. We have also a creative writing folder. This creative writing folder, it's made by the students themselves. So it's a student made. And the creative writing folder, it includes students who could put their stories so they can share it with future children. They write their poems into it and they share it to the whole class. But we also come up with some children who are like business makers. I don't know if you have these kind of children. And yeah, well, some children, they were like, what if we write the stories, we sell them, and the money that we get, we buy an electronic sharpener for the class. I'm tired sharpening with this normal one. I would love to have an electric sharpener. Okay, that's luxury thing to have an electric sharpener. So how can we find a way to do so? And in this case, they came up with the idea to write the stories. We end up laminating them. They make them in spirals, they laminate, they illustrate them. And by the end of the year, we have exhibition of some stories to be sold, and the money that they get, either they help some associations or they try to buy things for the class that would ease their work in the class. So in this case, they are participating into the class, they are participating into the society, they are introduced into the community life. We also have created daily activities. And here we have my class diary or class journal. And this is to make the writing daily and to make it like a habit for them to write. So we come up with the creative daily activities that include class diary or class journal, end of the day report. Some children would volunteer and they would say, I would love to write about today. Today it was a special day. We celebrated, for example, one of my best friends in the class and would like to write a report about it. End of the day report will be about the celebration that we had. We have also another daily activity, which is our magical world wall or poster. I don't know if you have a spacious class, but even if you don't have, and you have an outside environment and you have a big wall into, some children could work on it, and by the end of the day, they could write on some pieces of paper some riddles that they found out or they make, some jokes that they make also, some useful expressions they learned, some words that they learned also, new words, and they stick them on our magical wall. If you don't have a place for a magical wall, you can create a big poster where the children, by the end of the day, after the circle time, you do not forget to say, well, our magical wall is really looking for a new piece today. Just to tickle them and just to, I wonder if there is a new piece to be added into our magical wall. I wonder if there is a new riddle to enjoy reading together for lunchtime. And this is just saying so would tickle them to think like, oh, I'm going to write a riddle and I'm going to share it for lunchtime. Way, I'm going to write on our magical wall a new expression I got from a book I read today. I learned today a new word. I didn't know about it before and I find it synonyms. So I'm going to write it on our magical wall. And by the end of the year, you will be amazed and you will be so lovely. I mean, you will be sharing this joy with your kids to see that this poster is turned on to be a lovely portrait of their great efforts into writing. We also have shared these different kinds, but we also have what we call creative writing folder. And the children are going to work on this writing folder on a special way. How to write paragraphs, how to write essays, how to write poems, how to write short paragraphs, how to write descriptive, explanatory, persuasive texts. These are grouped into the writing folder that I'm going to share the activity with you in the second part of the session. So these are different elements that we could use for preparing our environment and preparing the inside environment. However, not only that, we need to think about necessary tools, but also attractive, I call it stationary things. The 6 to 9 children like different stationary things, using markers, pencils. They like coloring. They come up from 3 to 6 and they were exposed to this beautiful environment where they were introduced to the graded colors, and so they are still into this lovely, beautiful image that they have. So we try to reinforce it more, giving them this time stationary tools, but to guide them for writing. So we act on the environment also by putting necessary stationary tools. As you could see here, we can put all the brochures. And the children can make brochures to advertise for the end of the year show or special events in our school. And we were able, in this case, some children were very skilled at using, here the 9 to 12, they were skilled at using technologies that we ended up making a brochure and we typed it and we were able to really show it. But for lower elementary, they could write their own brochure. And you just give them a sample of old brochure, you explain how we work on it, and they are going to write down. It will be great if you try to do so for the end of the year show, or if you have a special event that you would love to advertise. For example, we have a workshop which is guided by children in our environment, and the children make their own brochure to advertise for that and give it to the parents after that. So this is also one of the things that we do. We also have in our environment, as part of the stationary things, old magazines. And these old magazines is to inspire them to make their own school magazine. And children were very enthusiastic on the idea to have a school magazine and to write on their own school magazine. And we also use this old magazines for story dictation as well. It's part of the creative writing. And for the second session, it will be part of the practical introduction to different materials that are useful for creative writing, including story dictation. We can use ink, postcards. So as we said, they can write letters, and they can use ink to write their letters, to beautify it and to make it really lovely, and to spend the time how they concentrate while they take the ink and write it down. But you may ask, a child aged 7 years old and holding the ink, he would make his hands dirty. It's all about interest. It's all about how you introduce it. It's all about following the child. It's all about trusting him also. This is also another point. We use the spirals, as you can see here, with picture top writing paper. So we have special underlined paper for the 6 to 9, and at the top there is a blank space where they could also illustrate. So they illustrate and they write. And in this case, after they would gather and they make their own story and use the spirals to make their stories. They could laminate it after all, and some of them would think about selling it. And as we are talking about cosmic education, we should not forget to link them to the cosmic education and to the interconnection. So we try to use the papyrus paper. You may find it, you may buy it, but I would recommend that you give the children the floor to explore and to make their own papyrus paper and to create a pile for that. And this is very enthusiastic for the children. It helps them really work in groups. It helps them work on a scientific discovery. It helps them be engaged into really this kind of activity, and it helps them orient in the past, how they were able to write on the paper before. And so every time we talk about past events, the children are going to refer to the papyrus paper and to write on it. This is to highlight the past event. Of course, if you are teaching the language pattern about past and you are dealing with early human beings in the past, it's really a good way to use the papyrus and to write a short, informative text about how early human beings lived in the past, writing with an ink on a papyrus paper. It fascinates them. And we use also useful books, including picture dictionaries. And I would recommend that you get for the 6 to 9 a picture dictionary if you don't have. It helps a lot for the spelling, but it helps you also as a guide to say, like, I'm not here only to correct your mistakes, because I'm giving you the floor to correct your mistake by your own. So all that you have to do as a guide is just to discuss with the child and to show, like, here there are some spelling mistakes. Will you spot them together? Why don't you go to the picture dictionary and find out how to correct them? And in this case, the child is learning how to correct themselves. It motivates them and it helps them really improve their spelling at the same time. I prepared my environment. I have stationary tools. I introduced different things in the class. Still not enough. My children are really lovely, exceptional. They would love to dig more into writing. They would love to explore more. 6 to 12 is not about the environment in itself. We talk about the dual environment. So we talk about outside environment. And here is what we are going to explore more. We are going to explore the art of writing outside. So in this case, we are not restricted to writing only in the class. Now, I really have a question for some of you. How many of you thought of just taking a paper, a pen, sitting and writing without being obliged to write for a PhD or to write for a course or to write for a session? You just sit and write, you flesh out your thoughts. How many of you thought about that? See, and here comes the way to sparkle the children's interest. It's to get them to really think about writing, regardless as being a task in itself, but as a joy. And for that, we try to organize going out. Organizing going out to a fair, for example, to buy books, to a library, to interview a librarian, and understand the way we organize it. It's an art, how to organize a library. So we organize going out to a media library. The picture that you see here, these are my children. We go on a bike. We have a media library nearby the school. It's about 11 kilometers. So we just take our bikes and we go. And each child is going to choose a book, put it in his bag, and we go back. And by the end, we are going to read, and they could write their book report. They have 1 month to read the book, to work on it, and to explore it more. And then they write their book report and give recommendation about the book. So this is a kind of going out that you could organize with your children. Organizing or going out to the library to interview the librarian. How do you organize the shelves and how do you put the books on the shelves? We also have the writer of the year. And for the writer of the year here, I choose a selection of books from the same writer. Let's say this year we talked about Charles Dickens, and I'm going to introduce the style of writing of Charles Dickens to the kids. This is basically for the 9 to 12. But for the 6 to 9, I get them introduced through the reading and through the circle time while I read the book of this writer. So they are getting familiar with his style of writing. So the writer of the year, I have a selection of books written by the same writer to analyze his style of writing, or to plan for an interview with him, or to read and summarize one of his chapters, or to write a book report about it. Now, here, to get to have a daily habit of work writing, this is the main essence for that. Going out in nature. And going out is writing as a source of meditation. So we go out, we find out a lovely place, we are surrounded by nature in all cases. So there should be a park nearby or a river nearby or a large space where there is some greenness that we could enjoy. So we go out, we take our books, our going out notebooks, and we are going to sit, look at the nature, enjoy it, and we write, flesh out what you have in mind. You may be surprised, but I got some really children coming back to me, sharing with me what they fleshed out, and it shows their deep emotions about a family issue they had. They were not able to flesh it out in the class, but they were able to flesh it out through the writing, and we were able to solve the problem through that. So going out in nature is really as a kind of meditation. It's not like I'm going to check after whether they wrote or not. You are free, you could write, and you will be amazed. They will be ending up writing. And at the end, before we go back to the class, we get in a circle and we share what we wrote. So it's writing to disclose one feeling, to observe nature, and to write what comes to their mind. Another part I have, which is related to the going out, which is writing with parents. And here we have, do you know cards? It's another writing point I have, do you know cards? It's to strengthen parental community and parental collaboration, shortening the gap between vacations. I worked in France and they have a lot of vacations. And sometimes when we get back to the class, it's hard for them to detach from the vacation time. So we take just 1 week after and we try to share what we experienced during vacation. This is one thing you could use. And so do you have anything for us in your do you know card today? Or did you all prepare your do you know cards before getting to the class after vacation? This is, we could also explore more with the kids. So children write what they learned as new during vacation, on their way to school with parents, at home whenever they are with parents, and they share that with us. And it's lovely to see the child coming and to say, oh, Salma, I have a do you know card today. Can I share it with my friends? Oh, really? What did you learn with your parents this week? Well, today we went to the museum and I found out this portrait and I was amazed. I have picture of it and I have my writing about it. Here we go. Please share it. That would be lovely to push the children toward writing. So we came up to get that all these points and all these are resources to develop the child's interest toward writing, to tickle his imagination and sparkle his interest to write. This is essential because, any volunteer to read the quote? Yeah, you can unmute and read, it's okay.
Can I read?
Yes, please.
The secret of success is found in the right use of imagination in awakening interest.
Exactly. So we try to awaken their interest and we try to sparkle their interest into writing. To sparkle this interest toward writing, we need to focus on writing skills program. And this is what I've been able to build throughout my humble years of teaching with elementary children. So writing skills program or syllabus for lower and upper elementary is essential to put into practice, but also to be based on sparkling their interest to develop later on their writing style. So the writing skill program here for lower elementary is quite different than the upper elementary because the characteristics are quite different. Though they are into the same phase of development, the 6 to 12 phase of development, we still can divide 6 to 9 and 9 to 12. And for the 9 to 12, they are more into abstract work. They are more into great work. They were more into challenges, more into sparkling more their imagination. For the 6 to 9, they are coming from the 3 to 6. So they are coming with some language patterns that need to be much more in depth going on. They are coming with some word studies that they had, but we need also to reinforce it for the 6 to 9. They're having some sentence structure. They're getting the basics for the 3 to 6, but for the 6 to 9, we are going to reinforce it through the sentence analysis. And so the challenge or the difficulties are not going to be the same when I build the program. I build the program according to levels of difficulties. So there is a program for the 6 to 9, and there is a program for the 9 to 12. And here we go. To build this program, we focus on creative writing imagination for the lower elementary. We focus on building it from simple to more complex and exploring the different genre, read and register. So a lower elementary child is working basically on developing his constructive imagination, developing necessary tools to strengthen his imagination and involve him to write in a more abstract way by introducing different style of writing and types of writing, involving the child to write for gathering information at first, then working on organizing and drafting later. So here, for example, if you look at the table, I would give a child of a lower elementary, is introduced to write a short descriptive passage. In upper elementary, he would work on writing a descriptive passage, but with more details, and they would add another level of difficulty. So it would say, how about writing a descriptive passage in 200 words? This is another level of difficulty that is appropriate to the age group of 9 to 12, that you could not ask a 6 to 9 years old to do so. So therefore, I needed to understand more in depth the characteristics to be able to come up with this program. I needed to get to understand how they could work on the different fields and how they could really work on getting the basic language pattern. Because later on, when they move to the 9 to 12, I would like them to go into depth. So the child for the 6 to 9 is going to write on writing a simple story, writing in sequences, understand short factual text. They could write on brainstorming main ideas, picking up the main supporting ideas from the text. That's it. They could write on writing a short letter, giving them different clues how to write a short letter. So in this case, I build with the child the different basic tools of the 6 to 9 that would later on be useful for them to work in the upper elementary. I cannot build a house without having necessary tools. And this is what we need to have and to give for the 6 to 9. This is what we need to go on, creating the foundation for writing skills. So elementary children then need to acquire from the 6 to 9 class the basic tools and techniques, the foundation to build later on sophisticated, complex writing. They need to get tools, and then each child is going to build with these tools the houses, the type of house that they would like to be in. Some children would love to live in a small farmhouse, others would love to live in a castle. It's according to what they acquire in the 6 to 9 as tools. And the more tools they would get, the more luxurious the house would be in the 9 to 12. So if you would love your kids to get into building later on in the 9 to 12 a great persuasive writing essay where you will have really great expressive writing, you need first of all to equip them from the 6 to 9 with necessary basic writing tools and techniques. So these are the main points. And to build these necessary tools, we need for the 6 to 9 to focus on the writing mechanism. And when we deal with the writing mechanism, we go into exploring different sides here. So we explore the spelling. There are some activities for spelling, handwriting, and keyboarding. I would put between parentheses keyboarding because they are not going to use it without the assistance of the child. And there is a topic we will be dealing with it later on about keyboarding. Punctuation, capitalization, and sentence structure. These 5 main elements are essential when I build a 6 to 9 writing program. So I build it focusing on these 5 main elements to strengthen their writing mechanism. Once these writing mechanisms are strengthened, I'm going later on to initiate the writing process with them. Because in the 9 to 12, I'm going to go in depth for the writing process. That's why I put the color different than the writing mechanism. So we expect a lower elementary, a child, to develop his mechanism of writing and his writing process as well, to be independent, developing in depth his style of writing later on. And here we are going to deal in depth for a later session, in the coming session, just after our break, about the writing process. How can we really reinforce the writing process later on for the upper elementary? For the coming sessions and for the coming part that we will be having, we will be exploring more in depth the writing mechanism. What kind of materials, what kind of activities I can initiate with my 6 to 9 children to reinforce their spelling, to help them reinforce their sentence structure, to help them also and guide them into building a clear skeleton and to building their writing and reinforcing their creative writing. How can I help my children to move from the 6 to 9 creative writing to a critical analytical writing in the 9 to 12? And therefore, we need to create what we call a linguistic bath. It's like you go swimming. The children are also going to swim in a bath of language, in a bath of writing tools. So the more you go in depth swimming, the coolest you would feel, especially in summertime. Well, I miss swimming. That's why I'm sharing with you. Well, so here what we are going to do. We are going to build writing mechanism for the 6 to 9 and simple materials that we can use and implement in our class, regardless of the parts of speech that they have. Now, if you enter any 6 to 9 environment, you would find the grammar boxes. You will find word studies, some word studies, and you will find some writing paper that they could write on. But there isn't, in our training, there isn't any material which is dealing with the spelling, material that is dealing with handwriting or with sentence structure, and even with creative writing. And this is what we will be exploring as a practical part for the second session. We'll be working more on trying to find different tools and different materials that I explored with my children during this time to find out how we can improve their creative writing. I open up if you have any questions about the first spot before we get later on into a pause and deal more into the materials for the 6 to 9 to reinforce their creative writing. So if you have any question related to the first part, never hesitate to really share. I would love it to be interactive. I'm also learning with you. So never hesitate to share. Yes, please. Nafila, yes?
Yes, good night. Hello, Salma.
Hello, yes.
Okay, I'm Nafila from Indonesia, and right now I'm teaching in lower elementary, and then almost all of my children are speaking with our mother language, which is Bahasa Indonesia, and currently I'm having a problem to enrich their usage of English as our second language. So I will be really glad if you can help me to give suggestion about the enrichment of
Yes.
using English or as second language for the children whose daily environment using another using another language in their home and in their school. Thank you, Salma.
Yeah, you're welcome. In the second part, you will be having some necessary materials that you could also work on in the class to help them. And never hesitate to share. We keep in contact, and I could help you with other materials as well. Thank you. Any other questions for the first part? We have 5 minutes to deal with the questions for the first part. Yes. I give the floor to Sidra Salam. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for all the sharing. I really appreciate it. I'm from Malaysia. I just because I'm a homeschooling mother and I'm doing homeschooling in a Montessori way. So you talked about the library thing, right? So
Yes.
how can we organize the library when we have a limited space? How we incorporate that? And my another question is, for instance, my son, he is 8 years old and he's writing about something. And in the middle, when I check his work, and there are some grammatical errors, or there are some spelling mistakes. So, what is the appropriate way through which I can correct him?
Good.
These
All
are
right.
my two things.
Great. So the first question, which is unlimited space, it's okay to have unlimited space, especially when we talk about the environment for the elementary. It doesn't have to be that rich with a lot of materials. Actually, it should be the opposite. The limited, the better. That means if you have unlimited space, you could guide your child to go to the media library. Why don't you organize, for example, a weekly day where you could go every Saturday to the media library and you borrow books? That's fine. This is the answer to the first question. As for the question about the grammar errors and the spelling, what I really recommend you is to really try to guide him into using a picture dictionary. You could find on the net, buy a picture dictionary, or you buy a dictionary. And if you spot a mistake, you don't really try to highlight it or anything like this. You would try to work with him and you would say like, I'm not sure that the word, let's say, microwave is written this way. I would write it phonetically this way, but I saw in our picture dictionary is written differently. Can you go to our picture dictionary and think about it? So this is the two guiding points I would recommend. For other activities related to spelling, stay tuned. We will have other sessions to go in depth with. I give the floor to, yes, Safia.
Hello, Salma and everyone. Can
Yes.
you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Oh, thank you for the presentation. To go quickly, I wanted to know, for a child who just come to the environment, some of the children, they are not good on writing at all. And like we saw it in our environment, like they were reading and writing and spelling, and then on cursive, and then the elementary environment was in print. So we weren't sure about their writing skills. So would I say these children are not like can I give them a picture and ask them to write? What do they think? Even though
Exactly.
I know they are not able to write much.
Yes.
Or would I say, oh, they are not ready, they are not able, maybe I need to do it little by little.
It's okay to say that the kids, they are having already the mechanism for writing. We just need to tickle it. So if the child is not able to write, it means I need to prepare essential tools to guide him to that. If this child is interested into drawing, it's a good start. We have what we call a top writing paper, where you have the blank paper at the top, and then you have special lines where the child can write. Here you can direct the child to even draw and write few words. And even if he writes phonetically speaking the word, it's not a problem. It's okay. You are going to be with the child and you are going to correct that with him. If you could have a picture dictionary in the class, it could help. Or if you could also use what we call a picture card, where the children are going to use the card, read it, write it, and then rewrite it on the paper, on this special top writing paper. It would help them to really gain confidence into writing and initiate the writing process later on. I hope I answered you.
Yeah, thank you. Would you say something like what if like it's a lot of misspelling or it's not written nicely? What would I say? Like, would I say thank you?
If it's not written nicely, this is because you as a guide or like an adult would like this perfection. But look at from the child point of view. Can you read his writing? Is it readable? Is he making a lot of mistakes? That are these mistakes bothering you? I mean, that much? Is it in each word there is a mistake? If it's this case, in this case, I will devote a session with the child. I will devote like a daily session. Every time I sit with this child for 15 minutes and I work on a picture top writing. And the picture top writing material is essential also to have it as a transitional material for elementary children. It would help them to really reinforce their writing, but also to learn a few words and to learn how to write and correct their spelling. We also have spelling cards. I could put this material also for you that you could refer to if they make some spelling related to the use of the plural, for example. You have some spelling cards that you could also introduce. In all cases, it's a long process. Don't worry if they make mistakes. They will find out how to correct if you give them the tools. And that's what we will be discussing in the second part. I hope you answered. Yeah. So I'm going to stop here for the first session and we can have a break of 10 minutes and then we come back.
Sorry, Salma, that I just want to clarify because some ladies have just asked me, we're
Mhm.
stopping for a break. We're not stopping the session. 'Cause
Yes,
because-
yeah.
So don't log off. You can
Yeah.
take a 5-minute break, and we're going to continue with lower
Exactly.
elementary. Sorry, because
Yeah.
a few people wondered and they were asking me like, is this the end? I was like, no, we're just having
Yeah, no,
questions for the
no.
end of the first part of today.
Part, yes.
And also we do have one more question
in the end of the
like
second part,
to answer it now or at the end of the,
at the end, yes.
okay,
Yeah.
lovely.
So
Okay,
I
so
open up for the first part and the second part, so you could ask a lot. So we will have 5 minutes break and then we come back. So I see you at 2:25, my time.
okay, thank you. See everybody in 5 minutes.
See you. Yes. Hello again.
Hi.
Hi, Seba.
Okay, Salma, if you don't mind, while we're just waiting for everyone to come back, if I can just take 1 second, because we do have almost everybody on now. If everybody could just for fun, just drop your country and your city in the chat box so that we can have an idea where everybody's joining us from. So you can just go ahead to the chat box and just put your name and your country where you're joining us from, and it will be really wonderful. So we have Shen joining us from Thailand. We have loads of people joining from Malaysia, Indonesia, England, India, Singapore, Malaysia, Cairo, lots of Malaysia, Egypt. I think we have someone from Dubai as well. So US, from the US. So that's really, really exciting to have so many passionate educators from all over the world joining us in this session. And we really hope that it can be a benefit. We also have Liverpool, UK, and Nigeria. Lovely. Thank you so much, everybody. Okay, Salma?
Yes, it's okay. And it's a pleasure to see all of you connected for the same main reason. So it's a pleasure, really.
Thank you
So
so much.
we stopped during the break time to dig more into writing mechanism for the 6 to 9. And in this session, in this different part, we are going to dig more into the lower elementary writing skills. And these materials, some of them, they are not from our training. So I needed to make them, and I needed to find a way how to dig more and to make them. Some I try to resource, I put them, and I try to put them in a organized way to come up to help these children develop their writing mechanism. So how can we develop their mechanism and process of writing? We are having here some materials that we could use, and that's what we will be elaborating on. So in this session, I could really get some of you as a students, we could really role play some activities together, this to give you an idea on how to present this material and how to introduce it for the lower elementary. So if, for example, we are unmuted and we will be chatting and talking together about the activity, you will react as a lower elementary child, okay? So it's okay to we place ourselves within and we try to put ourselves into our shoes to see how the writing word is appearing for them. So these materials that I try to include, they are based on improving their creative writing. This is the basic point behind these materials. We will be organizing other sessions if everyone wishes about, which is about lower elementary, digging more into spelling or digging more into handwriting, digging more into structure, language structure, or paragraph organization. So these are kind of sessions that we could also organize so on. But for these sessions, we are going to dig more into their creative writing. They are going to make some mistakes, some spelling mistakes. It's fine. The main point behind these materials is to involve them into writing, fleshing out their thoughts, and connecting to their imagination. So one of these materials that I try to list here, we have writing for imagine story cards, picture story, sequencing stories, paraphrasing task cards, editing cards, interpretive cards, and creative writing style cards. These materials are meant for developing children writing creative writing. Now, let's have a look at the writing folder. This writing folder that I'm going to share with you, I try to come up with my children, of course, throughout the years of teaching, finding a way how to help them organize their writing, how to help them organize their thoughts, how to help them organize in a way that they could write paragraphs, essays, reports, stories, and poems. It's doable for a 6 to 9, 12 child to write a short paragraph. It's doable to write a book review. It's doable to write a shorter story and a poem. And it's doable for the 6 to 9 to get an introductory part on how to write an essay. This kind of document, which is called the writing folder, when I go into it, you will find out different process and different activities where the children are going to refer to this book and the writing folder to write a paragraph, for example. Each child is going to go on. You can have this writing folder in your library or in a place where you could put it in your environment, where you are focusing more on writing, for example. It could be on the language shelf, and we devote a section for writing. You have the writing folder, the child can go on and they can try to go through the writing folder. And they say, for example, today I would like to write a short paragraph. Here we go. Can you go and take the writing folder? The child will go, then he would take the writing folder and he would take the paragraph structure. In this writing folder, you have how to write a short paragraph, how to write and to organize your writing a paragraph. Here I'm going to share with you the writing folder that I have. It's a kind of document that I combined together to find a way to mix the different activities for writing paragraphs, essays, reports, and stories, poems. I'm going to just go back to show you the document. Okay. So this document is based on different activities that the children would refer to. I hope you can all have a look at. Is it clear for everyone? Yes?
Yep, it's clear.
Okay. So writing folder here is a document that I tried to combine different activities to guide the children to work on basically 4 different types of writing, because these are essential types of writing that the 9 to 12 will be going in depth with. So we will work on descriptive, narrative, expository, and persuasive. And if you open up the writing folder here, you can find the different elements that I'm trying to put into this writing folder. You have paragraph planning 7 sentences, topic sentence starters, essay planner, essay checklist, thesis statement, transitions, descriptive writing prompts, and different other elements that I tried to gather out throughout different sections I found. For example, I would love the child to work on writing a paragraph. So we will work on a topic sentence. We have 3 basic details and a concluding sentence. This is the essential step for the 6 to 9 child. I would love to write a short paragraph about describing my city. I would start with a topic sentence. In my topic sentence, I would include 3 basic ideas that I'm going later on to develop into other 3 different paragraphs. And then I'm going to write the concluding sentence. So this paper here, as you could see, just the first one about paragraph planning, is given to the 6 to 9. So the folder is on the language shelf. The child is interested into writing a paragraph according to a picture he found out. For example, the picture is about a city. or he would love to talk about his own city. Okay, so you would love to talk about this own city, or I gave him a writing prompt. And we have also cards for writing prompts I'm going to share with you in the same document. And so he picks up one of the cards of writing prompts and he's going to write his short paragraph about it. So he would take out the first paragraph planning, and he would go on writing this topic sentence, sentence details, and conclusion. And this, of course, is a presentation that I'm going to give to the child, how to write a topic sentence, how to really dig more into the details, and how to write a concluding sentence. But basically, for the 6 to 9 children, if they achieve to write a first topic sentence, that's fine, it's okay. And then later on, we will work with them on developing more how to dig with the details, first, second, and third, and build the conclusion. The topic sentence, for example, I'm going to talk about my city, and I could say like, I live in an amazing city where the cultural and the musical aspect is highly reinforced. In my city, I could really enjoy cultural events. I could enjoy going out to a farm, and I could enjoy living also a technological life. So, and the first detail will be about how do I enjoy in my city living in a cultural life. The second detail, how do I enjoy in my city the farm life? And the third detail will be, how do I enjoy in my city the technological port life? And the conclusion, this city is really amazing because throughout the cultural life and throughout this farm life that I had, I was able to enjoy all my time during vacation. Simple. I'm not going to go too much into details. The first main part behind it is to help the child organize his thoughts. That's it. I have many thoughts about my city. I could talk about farms in my city. I could talk about technology in my city. I could talk about cultural life in my city. I could talk about musical life in my city. So I try to brainstorm. And these are a process of writing that the children will be developing more in the 9 to 12. For the 6 to 9, the first part will be, how do I just gather all these information and try to organize them, recognizing first a topic sentence. Recognizing that in my topic sentence, I have 3 main elements. That's it. So in this case, I can also give my child already a prepared paragraph, and I will ask the child, can you identify what is the topic sentence in this paragraph? Can you identify what is the detail 1, what is the detail 2, what is detail 3? Throughout a paragraph that I found in my book library, or I wrote, or we wrote it together. So here we have different components. We have also paragraph planning, and I could go on. Now they built 3 details. I'm going to increase the challenge. Remember we said we increase the level of difficulties. So now I go on into 5 more details still. And I give them some expressions to be used also at the same time. Here we have some expressions to be used, conclusion sentences, essays writing, and I here have how can I really edit my essay? How can I know if I wrote correctly or not? For lower elementary children, we could go on descriptive prompts here, descriptive writing. So some types of writing could be write about a person or an animal, write about a place, write about an object, and you have different descriptive prompts here. So they are cards. You can write them on paper, in A4 paper, or you cut them half of it, and you laminate, and they call descriptive prompts. So, and on these cards, you can write descriptive activities, describe what your room looks like. This is one activity that the child can pick up and work on. And he can draw his own room. And he can, after that, he can describe what he has in this room. So these are descriptive prompts. You can also have narrative prompts. And on this side, as you could see, you have different writing prompts as well, narrative prompts. Persuasive, it's for the 9 to 12 kids, but it's also doable to initiate 6 to 9 about it. If they already have this interest, they could initiate it orally. Like, if you find $100, what would you do with it? This is just, I mean, a kind of writing prompt that the child could work on, and he could involve his imagination about it. You put him in a situational context, okay? Or another context I'm picking up from this writing prompt: should children be banned or from playing video games? Here you may discover that some children are playing already video games at home. Or you could work on should pets be allowed in school? Because some children are interested into having pets at school. And I had a discussion with my children before, trying to find out what pet could we choose for the school. Some were saying, we get the lizard. Others, no, we would love to have a cat. Others, they were saying, we would love to have a praying Matty. So there were many discussions, and the persuasive word here for the lower elementary is on a written, in an oral way first. So we try to involve their reason. Oh, you would love to have a cat. Can you try to give me 3 different reasons? Why should I really accept having a cat in the class? Okay, this group, you would love to have a lizard. Can you give us 3 main reasons about it? Okay, now they did it orally, then I would tickle them. Oh, you know, Salma sometimes forgets. Could you please try to write down these 3 different reasons you gave me? It's an initiation to persuasive writing for the 6 to 9. So this is another way we do it. We have expository writing. Generally, we deal it with the 9 to 12, writing a poem and different types of poem here. We talked also about a book and writing a book report or writing a story. And here is a layout how to write a story. For example, the 6 to 9 child is interested to write a story about animals. Okay, your story is about animal. Where did it happen? Who are the people involved? What happened in the middle? What happened at the end? So I give them a layout, how to really work on the story, rather than saying, okay, to write a story. But the child doesn't know from where to start to write a story. I need to give him a presentation about that. And to get the presentation, I need to guide him to being independent. So when I see this writing folder and the child can go and he can pick up the writing folder, he already structured in his mind, I'm going to write a descriptive passage. Where do I go? I go to the writing folder. Oh, here is the paper for descriptive writing. I'm going to write on. Because throughout this folder, I'm guiding him to work independently, to write independently, rather than spending my time sitting next to him. Okay, what should we write first? It helps you as a guide. Save your time. Focus with other children at the same time. Give this child autonomous work. Make this child proud of the progress he made in writing, and also involve his imagination, focusing on a detailed writing. And this is the main point of the writing folder that we have. We also have other ways of writing, which is based on brainstorming. I'm going to write a story. My topic will be about cats. I'm going to talk about different types of cats. Blue cats. Have you ever seen a blue cat? What if we write a story about a blue cat? Okay, and it's just a way to tickle them. And here we are going to brainstorm with them. So the title will be of my story, Blue Cats. What happened to this blue cat? Is it only the blue cat character, or do I have other characters in my story? The blue cat and her friends. Or maybe her friends are also colored, or are they white. I try to discuss with my child, and I try to get him to reinforce his imagination. And what happened to the blue cat? Is there a problem here? What happened? She left home and she didn't come back. Oh, you mean she's getting lost? Yes. Oh, and what happened to the owner? What did he do? Is there any action that he did to really solve this problem? Oh, he tried to write and to find a brochure, and he made a brochure and wrote to find his cat. And the outcome, was he able to find the cat? Now that I discussed with my child already about the different main elements, I'm going to give my child this paper and he's going to work on. You can be surprised because a 9 to 12 child could be interested to write a story with him. So this case, it's a mixed age group again. Because we talk about Montessori, we are not going to talk just about the 6 to 9. Also the 9 to 12, he can work with the 6 to 9 in this case. So I'm not really separating them. They still can work together. So what about the 6 to 9 is writing, the 9 to 12 is editing. How about the 6 to 9 is writing down, brainstorming, the 9 to 12 is organizing. This is the beauty of the elementary and the beauty of the mixed age group that we need to focus on. You may find in this folder different really parts that I incorporated for the kids. It's to help them share and to help them dig more into that. So this is one of the elements that we could have. We also can work, as I said, on this folder, but we also work on other types of writing here. We have, as you could say, the writing, but we also have imagine story cards. I hope you all can see the screen. Is it okay? Yes. Okay. So for this activity, it's imagine story cards. It's also to involve their creative imagination and to create creative writing. And I'm going to position myself as a guide, and I would like to have one more student with me. It's okay, or two, as you want. Okay, to work on this activity. This activity is called Imagine Story Cards. For this activity, you can find the pictures through the magazine. That's why I said you could have an old magazine in the class, and the child can cut a picture from this magazine, a picture he likes, okay? And he can comment on. But you could tell me, how could he comment on? I need to give him tools to work on it independently throughout these questions that you have here. Where do you think it was taken? Who do you think is in the picture? What is the picture about? Why did someone take this picture? When was this picture taken? And they could add other, of course, questions. These are guiding questions, so I could really initiate his will of writing. So when I take imagine story cards, the children are going to have different pictures. They will choose. For example, for me, I choose this picture, okay? As a child, I choose this picture and I would like to work on this picture. So I'm going to have the picture, take a glue, take a pencil, an eraser, the top part writing, where I have a paper on the top part is a blank, on the lower side it's underlined, okay? And there is a big interlines between the different lines for the 6 to 9 to facilitate the cursive writing process as well. And I'm going to start my work. Okay, so the first thing I would do here is I'm going to help my child getting keywords, okay? So let's see if I could get a child today of a 6 to 9. I miss my children. I'm into maternity leave and I didn't see them for long, so no one can replace them, but I would love to see one of you acting as a child to work with me on this activity. Any volunteer for that? You can unmute and participate with me.
Can I volunteer?
Yes. Yes, sure. So here we have this writing activity. So I'm going to just show the work that we will be doing, okay? In this case, I'm going to guide the child. I'm going to prepare the activity for the child. So he already got the glue, he got the different paper he needs, and I'm going to help my child work on it. So I have here we go. You can all see the screen? No, not really. You can all see the screen, right?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, here we go. So I have the picture here, and so today we will be working on Imagine Story cards. And I can see that you picked up this picture. That's so lovely. All right, let's see. What do you see in this picture?
A stable,
A stable? Yes. Do you see anything
a pony,
else? A pony.
pony.
Yeah. Yes. What else?
Some sand,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
a girl.
A girl. That's true. Now, when I look at this picture, what do you think this picture was taken from?
I think the picture is taken from a farm.
Oh, okay. It's taken from a farm. Okay. All right. And what about this girl? Is she at the farm? Is she going to visit the farm? How did she get to be there at the farm? Do you have any idea? Can you imagine with me?
I thought she has visited a farm.
So this girl visited a farm. Okay. This girl visited a farm. All right. Now let's have a look at this girl. What do you think she's wearing?
She's wearing a vest
Mm-hmm.
and a helmet, black color helmet,
A helmet. Yes.
and red color shoes,
Okay.
and a blue dress.
A blue dress. And what is she holding in her hand here?
She is holding some rope of the pony.
Okay. A rope. Yeah. Of the pony. And what do you think she intends to do?
Can you say again, please?
What do you think she intends to do?
She is intending to give a ride to the pony.
To give a ride. All right. Now what I did here, I worked with my child on getting keywords. And as you could see here, I was helping my child to write the keywords. This is the first step for the 6 to 9, especially for children who are not really good at spelling. So I'm not going to really spot from the first time all the mistakes that they make. I'm going to gain first their confidence toward writing. So by putting on keywords. Now the child has keywords. All that he has to do is to organize these keywords in his mind to build up sentences. And this is phase number 2. Now I have a stable here, for example. What could be the sentence that I could use to make a stable, to use it for a stable? Let's put the word stable in a sentence. What could you say? For example,
The house of the pony is called a stable.
Okay. Could you try to write it? The house of the pony is called a stable. Here the child is going to write, and we may write it this way. Because we introduced the sight words. Okay, he got it. He writes it this way. It's fine. He could write this way. The house of, we introduced sight word. It's okay. We have sight word cards. He could really correct. It's okay. The house of the pony. Huh? You said pony, right? Okay. Pony. All right. Is, you said cold. Cold. And they have the word stable. It's written at the top. All right. What else? I would love to use the word pony. I used it, and I used the word stable. That's fine. How about the word girl? How can I use the word girl in my sentence? And I have some elements here. Girl, wearing. Can you try to combine these two words together? How could we make a sentence with girl, wearing, and I have other elements, helmet. Let's think about it. Yes?
The girl is wearing a black helmet
Okay.
and
Nice.
red shoes.
All right. The girl, well, red shoes, this is great from you to do so. But as an elementary child, as I give him the keywords, he would stop at the keywords I gave. But if he is really into a good writing process, he would also add red colored shoes. But generally, throughout the humble experience I have, they would stick to the keywords, afraid of making mistakes. So the girl is wearing. So I have the word girl, I have the word wearing, is wearing. Yes, you said black, black,
Black.
black, okay, a black, I want it this way, a black helmet. You would write it this way, you agree with me, okay? There is a spelling mistake in it. Okay, let's imagine like I guided the child was able to write at least 3 sentences, it's fine. Now we have finished. He would put his work into the right panel and would correct it. So I would come back saying like, okay, here we have the word house. I would just try to ask the child, okay, can you tell me what's your favorite color?
Red.
Red, okay, I would say, okay, because red is your favorite color. There are some words that we will need to correct. We will turn on these colors into a normal color. So I'm going to correct here. Red is your favorite color. I'm putting it in red to show you that these words, there is a way to correct them. See? Now, the second part will be, now that you have seen these colored words, the lovely color that you have, generally, I would propose I have different colors, but I would ask them, okay, I have 3 different colors. Which color would you like me to use? Okay, or he would say, I would love to use the red, the blue, or let's say I could also say, would you like me to color the words on the top, or would you like me to just trace it with a line on the bottom? And I could give the child the way he would like me to correct his work, so he wouldn't feel offended when he gets his work corrected. I give him also the choice to choose the way he could be corrected. So the house of the pony is called a stable. And here, as we used your favorite color, house, pony, as you can see, these 2 words, they have some spelling mistake. And generally, I would also, for upper elementary, I would use the word, I would use the editing part, SP, stands for spelling. So I would underline and put spelling. It's different. For the 9 to 12, I would just use the code of editing, SP spelling, so they understand it's a spelling. For the lower elementary, I would ask they choose the favorite color they have, and we correct it together. So you can see here we have house, pony, and black. These are 3 words that we need to work on the spelling together. Now, I would ask you to go and to take our picture dictionary. Can you go and check our picture dictionary and find out how to correct it? Once you finish, you can put your work back to the panel, and thank you so much for the efforts. Done. Thank you so much for participating. So this activity, as you could see, it's one of the activity I share with the kids to help them work on really building and gaining strength into communication. So they could really work on building and constructing sentences. The first essential step for writing, to construct a correct sentence, to construct a meaningful sentence, understanding the pattern. You have seen I used is wearing, the present progressive. Of course, it's another point. I'm working on it indirectly without getting him. And today when we have a grammar lesson, we will work on the present continuous tense. So is, it will be a bit of noise for kids. It means we will do it, but in another stage. For the first stage, how do I get my child involved into writing? And throughout this activity, the child is exploring the art of writing. He's exploring writing on his own, and he's exploring how to write, of course, based on keywords that we work together. You may be surprised, the 9 to 12 will say, oh, I would love to work on the Imagine Story card. That's fine, it's okay. But in this case, the level of difficulty is different. I'm not going to give keywords for the 9 to 12. They are guided by the questions, so they are going to just go on writing their sentences. So it's another level of challenge. This is one activity I could do with the kids. Another activity to work on their creative imagination is a picture story. And as you could see here, I try to find out black and white picture stories for a reason. For me, sometimes for the 6 to 9, they like coloring. So I said, okay, you may color it after, but you will be adding the description related to the colors you use. You see, so black and white is a colorful tool to be used, and the kids are expressing, they are working on art, coloring it, but at the same time working on writing. The questions also under each picture, it helps them to build the story. Who is in the picture here? I have in the picture a family, a mother, father, and the kids. Okay, what are they doing? They are cooking. Where do they put in the basket? In the box. They are putting a racket, I could see. Okay, that's fine. Now let's have a look at the second picture, and the child is going to be based on the questions, so they could really work on making their own story. For the 9 to 12, I'm going to give the same without the questions. I take out the questions. I may give the same, but with colors. They are not obliged to color, okay? Or I could give the pictures, but they have to put them in order to build a big story out of it. I can play with this material as much as I can, because they are going to really use it and build from it. So if you can cut it in only the picture, and then you can also make your own sentences. And in this case, you involve reading and writing. So they read, they attribute the reading part with the right picture. They build up the text, okay? They write it down in cursive. Now you could ask them later on to edit, modify, change it, okay? What if instead of putting in their basket a racket, oh, they put in their basket a ball, a football? What if instead of going by car, they would go by bus? They change, okay? So in this case, we give different perspective to the child to work on. We also work on sequencing stories. It's also another way. It's for the 6 to 9, this activity, especially for children coming from 3 to 6. It's a transitional material for them. I call it sequencing stories. And these stories are based on a series of sequences, okay? And the child has different pictures. So we cut the pictures are laminated, and the child is going to put, after reading, the picture in the right place. Now, based on this, you can inspire the kids to write their own sequencing stories. In our class, for example, we find it a bit difficult sometimes during cleaning time, tidying up the class, how to tidy up the shelf. And so, again, we had a pencil, we discussed in the pencil, and one of our friends came up to say, we can build the sequencing stories and we can write and draw and put it on the shelf. And in this case, the children are going to really remember how to really tidy up the shelf. So we were writing, we are 6 to 9 children, we tidy up our shelf. First, we take out the material. Next, we take our dustpan, we clean the material. Then we clean the shelf. Last, we put the material back to the shelf. That's it. And in this case, the children are participating into the environment. They are participating cleaning up the environment. They are participating improving their writing. They are using their writing, as we said before, to build the interconnection. So it's not only as a separate part from the curriculum, it's integrated with it. Everything, you can really use it to sparkle their writing, to really develop their writing. For everything you can think about it, there is a hidden clue how to get them into writing it. Without, of course, being too much into writing, but making it in a fun way. Here, the children enjoyed so much. They were grouping themselves into different groups, and we had like 5 children, first, next, then last. So, and the first child was drawing the picture for first, and he was writing it down. The second one for next, write down the sentence. The third one for then, he write down the sentence. Then they put them one next to another, and they made like a chain. And they were decorating it on the shelf so they could remind their friends how to clean up the shelf. In this case, as I said, they participated cleaning, but also they worked on their writing. We have a paraphrasing test cards, and here we have color-coded also. So the children work on paraphrasing the cards, and the cards are color-coded to give different level of challenge. Okay, and it's important to put the colors into different levels so they understand. Sometimes you could be surprised to have a 6 to 9 child asking to work on a great work and to challenge himself and to say like, I want to move to the blue color and to work on this big paraphrasing paragraph. That's fine. It's okay. Why not? Would you work on it on your own? No, my friend who is in the 9 to 12 volunteered to work with that with me. But that's okay. It's okay. You could work on it together. It's okay. But first of all, we will try to really work step by step. So we give them the floor to choose. And the color code is also another way to give them the floor to choose. Rather than saying, oh, you are lower elementary, the color is blue for you. You are upper elementary, the color is red for you. It wouldn't really boost their energy. It wouldn't make them challenge themselves. When you say that, you break the way for challenges. However, when you say the cards are color-colored, you can choose the card you like and you can work with another friend. It could be from another level, different from you, and you could work on it together. And here you will be surprised to find some children getting and saying like, we are going to work today on paraphrasing 3 different cards with 3 different colors. That's a great work of the 6 to 12. It's one of the characteristics of the 6 to 12 that we also claim for. This is another activity also we work on. We have also editing cards, and the editing can be done individually with a guide or with a pen. And for editing cards, it's also color-coded. For editing cards, we are going, for example, for the lower elementary, we will give 3 sentences, as I did with our friend before. And in these sentences, I put, for example, 3 different types of mistakes. It could be spelling mistake, grammar mistake, and punctuation mistake. Remember the mechanism of thing? So I'm focusing on. And so the child is going to get this editing card and correct these three different types that are related to the mechanism of writing. For upper elementary, it could be a different type of editing cards. Another session for upper elementary will be coming up, so stay tuned for other tools. We have also other parts of writing, creative writing, which we call interpretive cards. And for this activity, it's not that much used by guides, however, the children like it so much. The interpretive cards, it's to help them develop their reading comprehension and also to help them also have a dramatic skill. Now, let's have a look here. This activity is based on reading, writing, and drama techniques. Okay? Can I have a volunteer to work with me on a role play this time? This time we are going to work on a role play. It means the children are having these interpretive cards, and these interpretive cards are color-coded. For example, this is set 1, you see? Set 1, it's the simplest. We go up to set 10, okay? From the simple to the most sophisticated, as we said. So the child gets this card, and we read it together. So she gazed slowly around the room. Here, I don't know, who is she? What type of room? Why did she gaze? How did she gaze slowly? What's the context? I don't know anything. So what I'm doing here is, again, boosting the child's creative imagination to think about a scenario that would fit this type of card. She gazed slowly around the room. Now I would love a participant, if possible, a child, to act it out with me. We will work mainly on facial expression. Okay, so let's say we have a child and we are going to work, he chooses this card, she gazes slowly around the room. So consider each word in turn and consider the scene that the action might be taking place in. What sort of room? Let's do it together if it's okay for you, okay? Let's do it together. What sort of room you think about? And mute and speak, it's okay. Is it a big room?
Does anyone want to unmute and do the activity?
And we can do it together if you want to have a look at how it works.
I think Anusha is unmuted. Anusha, did you want to do the activity?
Yeah.
Okay, lovely.
Okay, all volunteers?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So it was a large room with a lot of people in it.
A large room. A lot of people. Okay. And why is this person in this room? Why do you think this person is in this room?
Maybe she's a detective.
She's a detective. Okay. I think we are coming up with a great scenario here. A detective in the room. So she is gazing because she is a detective. So what happened exactly? What do you think it happened?
She's studying their body language.
Sorry?
She's studying the people's body language.
Oh, she's studying. She's about to be a detective then. She's just studying people's body language. Okay. All right. And what do you think she could feel when she is just gazing at people like this, studying their body language? What do you think she's feeling?
she thinks that there's this one woman who's acting a little strange.
Oh, she saw a woman acting strangely. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. She saw a woman. Okay. Acting strangely. Okay. And do we agree that she or he? You are okay to keep on with she, or you want to change as Detective Megan?
No, I'm gonna stick to she.
She. All right. Okay. Now that we have these elements, what we are going to do, we are going to perform it. Okay. So I'm going to look at your facial expression. Imagine you are a detective. You are studying people's body language, and you get surprised seeing the women acting strangely. Can we try to look at your facial expression to see how you perform it? How do you do it? Sorry. How would you do it? Yeah? All right. So now that the child has tried to really work on with the facial expression, let's try to write down essential pieces for our first drama role, okay? Just essential elements. There is a woman. I write with the child, okay? She is a detective based on the words that he gave me or she gave me. She is studying people's body language. She saw a woman acting strangely. This is our first introductory part for a drama part to be written, for a role play to be written. Congratulations. You see? So what we did right now, we tried to work on having a clear view about the first phase of the writing, a first phase of writing a role play, which is to build a skeleton, to build the first scene, a first scenario. And in this case, we try to build the scenario accordingly. Now that we have the different elements studied, we can work on building more for the next time. Okay, you can involve your friends to work with it, and you can try to work on building this point together with your friend. This is another point I could share with the friends. Okay, so these are different elements I could work on with my friends, with my students on, and it helps them, of course, to build their imagination, and it helps them to have this creative imagination away. So in this case, I'm building up and I'm starting to have a look at the first basic element, the first part, to introduce drama techniques and to introduce role play. I worked with my friend here on building the first scenario and building the first initial part. A woman acting as a detective, she's studying people's body language. She saw a woman acting strangely. And now the child could be involved to go on and to say, I would love to keep on writing on about this role play. I would love to think about how would happen when this other woman who saw her reacted to her way of gazing. How about putting them together and having a dialogue together? What matters here is not really the scenario in itself, is the initial introduction to the role play. So I'm introducing my child to work on a role play. This is part of the writing process I'm working on also with the children, which is called the interpretive cards. For another level, let's say 10, they will have the scenario. They are going to act it out, but they are going to complete it, writing it. So it's different. It's a different level of understanding. We have also another activity that we could introduce for the lower elementary, which could be different from the upper elementary. It's based on creative writing style. And in this case, as we also know, that the children went through parts of speech and they know the symbols, some of the symbols. Okay? So in this case, we can give them cards and we can give the symbols. And the children is going to write a sentence based on the symbols that they see. For example, if I put a verb, article, a noun, and I ask you to make a phrase using this symbol. Eat the apple, right? Now I could also ask you to write a paragraph based on the symbol, as we have here the example of Maria lives. Once there was a, what do you think I could put here? A woman, okay, who loved learning. I could think about a preposition. And then I could try to build on, based on these symbols, a paragraph. In this case, I'm tickling their imagination, but I'm also moving to an abstract level that is highly introduced into the 9 to 12. Stay tuned for more activities for 9 to 12 in the coming sessions. So all these activities that we are working on and all these initiative activities that are related to the creative writing is actually go hand in hand, are actually working hand in hand to help the child build his own writing style. Because after all, the child of the 9 to 12, once he grasps all these elements, he will be able to build his writing style. He got and he registered in his mind different styles of writing that he was introduced into in the 6 to 9. And now in the 9 to 12, we are going to go deeper into that so we could give him the floor to write his own style of writing and then to express his personality. Well, this is a picture I really like so much. It's about the kids. I worked and collaborated with a French guy, and we were discussing with our friends. When I say friends, it means my students, okay? And so we tried to find a way how to organize for our going out and how to find out a delegate for our going out. A delegate is a person who will be in charge to really work with our guides and to communicate with the person who will be hosting us for the going out, presenting the school. So we asked them to work on a class election. And in this case, they are going to write their own speech to convince their friends to vote so he could be elected as a class representative or a class delegate. And here, as you could say, vote Sasha, he's asking his friends to vote. So he wrote his speech and he was trying to give his speech using, of course, the writing style he has. If you read his style of writing, he is expressing also his personality through the writing. So the writing, it has the main point of that. Why are we acting on writing? Why are we helping the children to improve their writing? Because we would love to give them a voice, because this voice matters later on, because they could be the voice of peace, the voice of freedom, the voice of expressing a good reason in society, because this voice has a cosmic task. They could have this cosmic task to spread peace around the world throughout their writing. They could write a lovely novel to talk about peace. They could give a speech to urge people for peace. And this is what we would love to build for our future generation, a word of peace and a word of tolerance. And here is the main point behind reinforcing all these skills is to help them get their own style of writing and to help them express their individuality, their personality, and express them to embrace the word with self-confidence and with a great enthusiasm. This is a picture of my kids during the election day. So I hope I gave at least a big overview about elementary writing, some useful techniques that you could use. I open up the floor for 5 minutes questions and discussions to really dig more into the second part, or if you have any other questions I didn't answer from the first part, never hesitate to share. Any other questions?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I have a question regarding highlight just what you shared just now, how to correct or highlight the mistake that are made by the children. Just now you show about spelling. How about if they make a grammar mistake?
Mhm.
How will you highlight to them?
The grammar mistake.
Yes.
Okay, so again, it's another series of writing that we could plan it to give you other tools about the grammar mistakes, but generally it's also through materials. For example, let's say I gave a presentation about the use of the present continuous tense.
Mm.
And I have prepared already writing prompts. In my writing prompts, I would just write a short paragraph using the present continuous tense. That's it. And I will also put with them the rule for the present continuous tense. We have in our class what we call defining cards or definition cards, or we call it the charts of conduct. And they could refer, so I could say, use the present continuous tense, refer to chart number to remember the rule. Okay, so in this case, the child is going to write. He has the chart, how to work on using the present continuous tense, and he is going to build it. He finished, he puts it in the panel, and now I'm going to correct the same way. So I would say instead of SP for grammar, for spelling, I would write G. G stands for grammar. So I would write G, and I would say, okay, here there is a grammar mistake about the use of tense, but I precise G and I put a slash T. It means tense. The tense used is not correct, so you can work on. And I remind the child, remember you are working on the present continuous. Can you refer back to our defining cards, find out how to correct the tense, and come back to me. So in this case, they have the defining card. They generally will find it out and they correct it because they have also the defining card that will help them. It's a self-correction material. And so in this case, the child is able to correct. But first, I precise. It's a grammar, it's tense. Could be grammar, structure. It could be any other elements related to grammar. I hope I answered your question.
Yes. Thank you.
So, any other questions? Yes.
So it's also about the mistakes, so the spelling mistakes. So when a child makes a spelling mistake, you make him use the
Feature dictionary.
dictionary. Yeah, exactly. I was just looking at the one of Oxford. I don't know if you could give us a recommendation of any picture dictionary that we could use.
Yeah.
But my question is there any extension that you would do with the child to reinforce the right spelling so that he would remember, the next time that the right spelling is, the spelling he found in the dictionary? Or
Yes. The other extension could be, as I talked and I shared with you before, we have in the class what we call the wall or the poster. Whenever they learn a new word, they will go and write it down on the poster. And we created in the class a big, large poster where every time they learn the spelling of a word or they learn how to write it, they will write it again and they will put it on this poster. This helps the child also have this recognition of the word. First, he would memorize it. Second, if he makes the mistake again, which is the same spelling mistake, I would say, remember you wrote it in our spelling word, in our magical word. So can you go and check our magical poster? It's there. And here it involves him to read and to find out where did I put it, where, here is it. He will correct it again. Even if he makes a mistake again about the same word, he will go back because he has already visualized it in our magical wall. So he will go back and correct it. Sometimes I would say, go back and use the picture dictionary. You will find certainly the word in a picture dictionary to correct your spelling. Or I could say, why don't you go and check with another child, 9 to 12, for example, how to correct it? Okay. Or I sometimes also guide them into another way of correcting. Let's say, for example, I have this mistake. I made a mistake to write code, okay? And the child wrote it this way. Instead of writing code correctly, he wrote it like this, code, okay?
Okay.
So I would say, okay, here is it. These are the letters that you should use for the word code. Can you put them in order to correct your spelling? So, and this is also another activity game that I made for the spelling. Well, if you are interested in spelling, I could make a session about it. There are many tools you could use. I could see many of you interested into that, so we could organize a spelling session.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
One more question. Would you refer to the previous mistake the child made?
No. I
No.
would say, for example, I wouldn't say you did this mistake again. I would never say, but I would say like, yeah, but I would say like, I think we wrote this word again, and I'm sure it's written before. I wonder, where did you write it before? Could you go and check? You see, so this is the way I would handle it. I wouldn't say, oh, it's another mistake he made. And generally the kids, whenever you say the word mistake, it's quite some stuff. So, but at the same time, they enjoy correcting. If you give them lovely, fun tools to correct, they would enjoy it. Like editing cards, they enjoy this kind of game. They enjoy working on the magical world game. They really like it, because every time they would love to write a word, they don't know how to write it. I can see, and it's also movement. They move, so they see the word, they go back and they write it. It helps them. See, so I hope I answered your question, giving you the necessary things. Any other questions? Oh yes.
Hi. I would like, hi, Miss Salma. So, just now referring to the picture cards writing, the example that we did just now. So, is it done by individuals, or can we do it in small groups? Because we have some children that's really weak in, construct a sentence.
It's good to do it in a group in this case. If you could gather a group and you would say, this child is good at spelling. This one has some structure problem. Put them together. It's a good help. It's a good help. It
Yes.
helps. And so yes, definitely it's done in a group. For elementary children, generally the presentations are based on group work. So yes.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. We have Saidra and then Safia. Yes.
Yeah, I have two questions. One is related to spelling only. That kids like to they try to mix the subjects, they interconnect the subjects. So for instance, they learn about the continent, so they want to write about it, for instance. But what happens when they write about the continents, there are very big spellings are coming into that. Like the Africa is coming, the it's Europe is coming. So while they are writing, when they don't know the spelling, it demotivates them, and they cannot put their thoughts into their writing. So how we can motivate this factor into the kids, that it's okay, you just write your thoughts. And my another thing is, then when the 6 to 9 kids, they start writing, and they're writing on the line. Sometimes their words go big, sometimes it's small, sometimes big, sometimes small. So what is the correct stage where we can tell them that you have to write in a straight line, or your work should look beautiful when you write it in line? So what is the right stage when we have to try to tell them?
Okay. You have different sections into your question, but I will try to pick up the last one because we are shortened by the time and I hope it won't be cut. But throughout this presentation, I could understand many of you focusing on spelling. So definitely I will be organizing a session about spelling techniques. But to answer the question about writing in different formats, write small letters, big letters, combining together, not writing between quoted marks beautifully, because you are the one defining beauty in this case. It's not the child. It's because your self-perfection, you would like to make them write beautifully. Who told you they are not writing it beautifully? I mean, for them, it's nice. Well, anyway, we all have this kind of self-perfection, I could understand. We all work on ourselves for that. So if the child is working on combining different formats, that's why remember when we said at the beginning, we won't give them a copybook from now. We will give them different types of paper. And these papers, they have different underlined interlines, okay? So for example, for the 6 to 9, they could have bigger underlines, then narrow it down a bit, and then a little bit narrow down. And so we would work on the cursive writing. Okay? It would reinforce their motor skills. It would reinforce also the spelling and so on. It's part of also the process. And so when you write, I could also model. I could give like some cards where I write in cursive and in script. And they could have a reference about these cards. You can rewrite, this is what we call reproductive writing. You can rewrite using your own handwriting. And I give them these samples, and these are cards that I made. Some are written with my hand, it's handwritten. Others are with typed, and some are, so the child has a model, has a reference on how to write them. I hope I answered part of the question. Was that okay for you?
Thank you,
Yes.
Salma. We have one more question that was from the first half of the course. Can I ask that one for you? It's in the chat. It was just about the movable alphabet. You mentioned about having two sets in different colors.
Yes, I mentioned about the movable alphabet. They could be in 2 different colors to work on the word study. The reason why they are into 2 colors, for example, if I work on the word study suffix or prefixes, I have to highlight the suffix with a color, the prefix with a color. So the child is going to write, for example, the word open is the root. I write it in black. Read open, the word, the syllabus read is written in red. So I write it with another movable alphabet. So, and then I could really have this connection of the word, the graphism. So read is a suffix, it's written with another color, and the root is open, read open. So in this case, I'm introducing, for example, suffix or prefix, okay? I hope I answered the question about the use of the different colors.
Thank you so much, Salma. I know that everybody has questions, but Salma does have a tiny little baby who's waiting
Yes,
for
they
her.
have been here 3 months. He has been really,
I
very
don't think we should,
patient.
I don't think we should keep him from her any longer. Thank you so much, Salma. This was such a wonderful session. There's lots of smiling faces and lots of focused faces as well. So I'm sure everybody was really, really taking time to absorb everything that was being shared. So thank you so much, Salma. And we really look forward to having you in the next session. I have just put a feedback form in the chat box. So please click on that feedback form and share with us your feedback so that we can make improvements and find more ways to make this training more beneficial for you. And
also think about the coming sessions. If you have any questions that popped up to your mind and you would like me to work in depth about it, we could plan the second session could be about the spelling, as I could see many of you interested into that. So never hesitate to share.
Yeah, we're planning to have maybe a monthly session with Salma if it works out. So, all these questions that you have are really great. We can gather them together and then we can use them to plan other language sessions that will help you. Yeah. So thank you so much, Salma. We won't hold you any longer.
Yeah,
And
thank you so much really for your time, for being really interactive with me, and for spending this great time together. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got basic tools. For all the questions I was not able to answer, I hope I would answer them next sessions. So stay tuned, stay with us, and keep on following us. And a big hug to all of you, and goodbye.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye.
Thank you. Don't
Thank
forget to
you.
fill in the feedback form. It's in the chat box and it's also on the WhatsApp group. Thank you so much.
It would help us improve. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone. We're seeing some of you tomorrow. So please do get some sleep before before the session tomorrow so that you can absorb and take in that as well. Thank you so much.